the wonderful
Mark Dempster. Yeah, I think this is the 12th, Tosca. I think this is the 12th, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
And next door to him
is Michael.
Okay, and next door to him?
Yeah, hello, I'm Steve Milton.
Okay, generally what we do on these wonderful occasions, we take a topic and we kind of dissect it, have a look at it, and and get some views and get to the gritty nitty, or even the nitty gritty, but we like to call it the gritty nitty. And we decided the next 40 minutes we're going to talk about illness. We're going to talk about illness, and lots of us have been surrounded by it as we get older, and and move into the twilights of our lives. And I just wanted to just go around the room and see what people's general view on that is, and how you kind of cope with it as you get older, and what that kind of your sense of that is. And let's start with Mark, because he's to my left.
Yeah. Okay. So as far as illness is concerned, the only really illnesses I've had in recovery so far, touch wood, is like I had Hep C I had to have Hep C treatment as a result of my intravenous drug use many years ago, and I had to go through the treatment, which was slightly a thing called interferon and ribavirin, and that was a bit of a challenge going through that treatment, because it was a year-long treatment. And other than that, I've just had things like a detached retina, things that's happened to us, bones broken, but not so far any real illnesses. But at times I've felt quite mentally ill. I've felt as if, because we talk about illness mentally as well as obviously physically or emotionally. We can talk about emotional illness as well, but that's me.
Yeah. So for me, I think our spiritual illness and our mental illness has a lot to do with our body illness. It brings on stuff. I'm not saying it's the only thing that does that. But if you're not mentally well, you're affecting your heart, your livers, your kidneys, your toilet. And I think diet has a lot to do with our condition of our body. The Word of God says it's a temple. And I think a temple is sacred, and we have to sort of embrace what we've been given, a gift of life. And having the condition of, say, an addiction illness, which is very compulsive, it can eat, it can do whatever, and you have to learn what the ramifications are, especially as we get older. And as you know, I was diagnosed with cancer 3 years ago. And I was a smoker, I was this, I was that. But they told me it had nothing to do with it. They told me that what I'd got was very rare. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. It was very small. So I carried it for 5 years before they even knew it. But I knew. There was a dysfunction in me that I lost. I was driving on a bike for about a year, and I lost copious amounts of weight. And I thought it was the bike. I thought, God, this is great. I lost loads of weight. A girlfriend of mine said, why don't you go to the doctors? Went to the doctors, but we're like just going through the doctors there. It's not personal no more. You don't get your own doctor. There's a group of doctors, and they don't really, they just want to, I'm not saying they're doing a bad job, because they're not, but they're ticking boxes. And the intensity of going deep into what really is the value of your health and your whatever, I think you've got to be private. Now, that's not great for people who can't afford it and where there's mass population. But once they diagnose you, for me, I've had the best treatment you could ever imagine. I really, really have. And so my cancer's in 2 places, but I don't identify with it. I won't agree with it. I'll accept what it's doing to me in the thing I've lost my barnet, be careful what you pray for. I used to pray that I lose loads of weight. I lost 37 kilo. And I got 28 waist. And, I'd squat back, I can assure you of that.
Aye.
There's positive thinking involved. There's wonderful things involved. And I'll tell you what it's done for me, if you want to know the truth. They say it's in my lung and in my brain, but it's very small. It's not tumoured, so it's been tricky. And I'm doing well. I've been at it nearly 3 years, and I'm not agreeing with it. And I believe that God determines the days of my life. But he wants me to take care of Michael, not only in the health side of it, how I talk to people, how I care, do I love my neighbour? And one of the things that it's done for me, and listen, it's life-threatening. Let's not have it right. Do I feel like I'm dying? No. I can't accept that. I'm not going to walk hand in hand with that. Not for me. And I'm serious about it. And I believe in God as well, massively. So I'm not saying people who believe in God don't die. I'm not saying that. But what it's made me do, or what it's not made me do, what it's helped me do, is I was very arrogant, I'd had my toys all my life, they've gone, that's all right. Yeah. And it gave me a disposition of not a reality. You know, I wasn't a famous football player. I was a kid who was at it all his life and got a few quid, simple as that. And it's humbled me. It's not all about me. And whatever I had, they were all masks. It wasn't a reality of Michael. It really wasn't. But in this trial and tribulation I've been going through, there's been some wonderful people who've returned into my life. And, you know, I have a really, like I say, a strong faith in God. So I can see that things are starting to happen, which is why I've always desired. And that's to be quiet, quietish, and be humble and look after what I've been given. Not only my family, my children, my grandchildren. I've got lots of lovely friends. I go to a wonderful church, and they're gifts. They're absolutely gifts. The gift of health is a gift. And where I've abused others, and I've abused myself through and they're, you know, the psychotherapists go, oh, you was traumatized, you was this. Well, that's right. But there's a way out of all that. And the way out for me today is just be at peace and to be honest. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
Steve,
you.
what's your...
Yeah, I don't know how that's covered everything.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. You know what I'm like.
Yeah, no, that's right. Thank you.
No, but we'll come back. Back.
Illness. So yeah, we pivoted from another topic into illness, and before Mark shared, I was thinking one thing, and now I've been influenced by Mark and Michael as well. But the thing I was thinking is like, okay, illness is what isn't ill. Is there such a thing as perfect health? And it's like perfect mental health, perfect emotional health, perfect physical health, perfect relationship health, and it's just like, probably not. I mean, God probably has perfect health if we're speaking about God. So by default, that means I'm an ill person because I haven't got perfect health. I'm, and you know. I think until quite recently, maybe the last 10 years or so, illness was a thing that I saw as, I had a cold, or I had the flu, or I didn't even see certain physical illnesses as illnesses. It was just like, I sprained my ankle, or he's ill, or it was just like something that wasn't really relevant to me. But as I've sort of approached, maybe as I was approaching 50, and then like now I'm like on the north side of 50, north side of 55 now. Actually, what I've seen is a much more profound insight into illness, and that is probably me coming out of denial. And it's just like I'm a lot more aware of my friends and myself and my wife, who's had a number of scares with lumps recently, and just like my own fallibility. Is fallibility the right word? Just my own vulnerability to illness. I've had COVID on a number of occasions, and for the last 4 months I don't know what happened, but I think I was lifting weight at the gym and I just did it incorrectly. So for the last 4 months, I've not been able to go into the gym and lift weights, which I love.
Yeah.
So as a consequence of illness, like it's a physical injury, as a consequence of that, something that I've really loved to do every day has been taken away from me. So and it's just like, and I'm not comparing this to anything else, but it's just like, actually, it's a real thing for me. It's just like, oh yeah. But I mean, that's a very, irrelevant example, but
not really.
It's
not at all.
Not irrelevant. It's not the right word, but it's not very serious. I know it's going to come back, but actually, it was starting to get me down.
Yeah.
It's starting to get me down, and then that spreads out and it has an impact on other people, and it has an impact on my quality of life. And so, one thing that I know you mentioned recovery, like recovery sort of, when I'm in recovery, that spreads outwards, but illness also spreads outwards as well. It's not just contained to my arm. It spills out to other places as well. So, so illness, in summary, illness for me is, I'm just becoming more acutely aware of it. As my mum, I lost my mum at Christmas, and she'd been ill for a number of years and stayed alive for a surprisingly long time. But my wife's parents and my dad and his partner, they're all going through the trials and tribulations of being in that sort of later stage of life, and so it's a necessary part of life, is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, that's my preamble on illness.
Okay. Very, very interesting. I'd just like to kind of add that, I had a stroke 4 months ago. 4 months ago, something. I had a stroke, and which is a really interesting thing to have. I wouldn't recommend to anyone on
to go and try it out.
To go and try out a stroke. But it's an interesting kind of situation to be in, and I suppose that what I've always been aware of is, well, intellectually, that life is temporary. Well, everything is temporary, and it can all change at any given moment, and the rest of it. And and I can clearly remember. Like having my first episode, which is called a TIA, which is a mini stroke. Mini stroke, yeah. Yeah, which is a mini stroke. And I can remember lying on the bed, and what's really fascinating for me is that, I kind of, I consider myself to have a large ego, and I consider myself to be able to deal with most things, right? And it's. And it's one of these things where I think to myself, I can generally think my way out of it. Do you know what I mean? Or generally think my way into it, or have some sort of context around, what's happening with my mind. And, when it happened, it was the first time in my life, and we're all taught from a really young age, like to run it off, give it a rub, do that. We've always got some sort of way of soothing.
A remedy.
Yeah, there's some sort of remedy that we can instantly go to, right? Yeah? But when it was going off in my nut, it was like, I'm fucked. Do you know what I mean?
I'm done.
And I couldn't think my way out of it. I couldn't think my way. I didn't know what to do. Like, I'm fucked. And my next thought, which was really kind of quite weird, was I have nothing in place.
Yeah.
Oh, for this you didn't. You realised you hadn't conceived or thought about it. It's unexpected.
That's it.
There's nothing in my life.
I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is in place. It doesn't matter how much I think it is. It doesn't matter how I fast forward it to being that way. But at that moment, nothing. you know, my kids, you know what I mean, my family, how it's all going to be worked out, the rest of it.
Right.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
The
There's nothing,
practical stuff.
yeah, it's just a fucking mess. Right?
Yeah.
And people, you know, and I belong to, you know, a 12-step program, a 12-step fellowship, and people talk about living in the day and that sort of thing. And I ain't living in the day. Do you know what I mean? I'm kind of really aware by what's left around me that I'm not kind of living in the day. And it was really interesting, you know, and we're having a chat, and, you know, and we're going to do another one on aging, right? We'll do that a bit later. But it was really interesting for me that I was now in this place, right? Yeah. Where, you know, look, I used to, you know, when I was younger, I kind of thought that the Portobello Road wouldn't exist after I died. Do you understand what I mean? When my kids sort of say to me, Dad, I sort of think, oh shit, they're talking to me. Do you know what I mean? I kind of go, oh, okay, you know, like, so I, you know, I understand that I'm really self-centered, right? But the humbling thing about, you know, having a stroke is that I really am fallible.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There is a finite time on all of this, despite what I might think and feel about this. Do you know what I mean? This isn't going to kind of last forever. And I also realised to myself that there was no point in having stuff.
Funny, isn't it funny?
We've had identical thoughts.
There is no point.
What's the stuff? What
Well,
does it
well,
get?
it's okay. This is a perfect example.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's irrelevant.
Well, yeah, it's all.
Because you're going. Can't take it with you.
Well, but
only because you're going, it doesn't have a value.
I know.
Yeah, but more importantly, it never has.
I know. Apart from what you attribute to it,
Well, it never
it's
has.
the
It never
ego.
has. This is a perfect example. Right?
Aye.
So.
You've got a nice watch here, Tosca. Who are you going to give that to? Hope that was me.
You know what? You can have to watch. But this is a perfect example, right? So you know, I drive a fast car, right? I've had 7 of these fast cars on a spin, right? Yeah, I've bought them, right? In May, the fella rings me up, right, and he says to me, we've got a new version of the car you've got. So, okay then. Okay, because obviously I'm going to live forever. Do you know what I mean? Like, so the one you've got now, there's a new version coming next year. It's got 605 brake horsepower. You know, do you want to do a deal to go X, Y, and Z? I go, you know what? Sweet, we'll have it.
How many extra horsepower has it got than the existing one?
No. The crazy thing is,
was this after the stroke?
No, this is before the stroke. Right?
Okay, yeah.
When I've had the stroke, I'm sitting in the hospital, right? And I think to myself, what the fuck is 605 brake horsepower? I don't even know what it is. I don't even know what it is he's selling me, right? And I thought to myself, hang on a minute. And I sort of, you know, one of the first calls I made, and this is so weird about it all. One of the first calls I made, said, that car, I ain't having that car. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know what brake horsepower is, right? So this week, I go to have my car realigned. Fuck knows what they do. They put this thing on it. Geezer comes up to me and goes, I like your car, blah, blah, blah. You know, one of these, I know anything, I don't know where to put the petrol in a car. Do you know what I mean? I have to read the manual. He says, your car, blah, 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 it's really good and all that. You know, they got a new one coming out. I said, yeah, I know, they try to sell it to me. Don't get it, it's a piece of shit. It's half this and only 2.5 litre and blah, blah. And it's that kind of thing where I used to believe in that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you know what I mean? I used to believe in that stuff. I used to think to myself, do you know what? Whatever's next going to make it better. You know that. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that car, right? Yeah, is a definite improvement on the other car, which was an improvement on the other car, which was an improvement on the other car. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Which to someone who doesn't know about them, I've test driven a car once, right? It was the Audi garage on the A4, and the fella said to me, "Do you know what you're looking for?" I went, no, which is true. I don't know anything about it. Yeah. And it's that kind of, you know, so having that stroke was kind of like, it's not fine. No, I'm not going to live forever, right? Yeah. It's not about me anymore. It isn't. It's not about me anymore.
Place I've got to.
It's not about me anymore. It's about my kids.
Absolutely.
It's about how kind of like I make it okay for them.
Great shit.
Do you know what I mean? And it's kind of like, and how do I go about doing that? And it's funny. You just shared something, Michael. So when I was in the hospital, they said to me, "You've got to lose weight, right?" Right, you had a stroke, you've got to lose weight, you got to eat kale, you know what I mean? You've got to do this sort of thing, do a bit of yoga.
Sugar going, caffeine going.
Do a bit of yoga, you've got to do all this stuff. And I saw Steve and he said to me, "You know what, you lost some weight." And I've lost about 10 kilos from then, right, But I've done nothing different, right? I've done nothing different, but all I've been doing, because I'm taking 7 pills a day now, I'm just drinking all the time.
Yeah.
But after what you just said about losing weight, I'm sitting there thinking, I've got a bit of cancer somewhere.
Just healthy.
Well, I might have. I might have. But, the point I'm trying to make is the fact that it is finite, right? Yeah. And illness as you get older, it represents a passing of time, right? Yeah, and it represents, okay, what am I going to do about it, and what am I not going to do about it? Well, it kind of does for me, and and it's and people know that I do my business and that I travel a lot and that sort of stuff, and I've said, no, I'm not doing that stuff anymore.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? I have to live my life in a different way.
Absolutely. You're allowed to do that, but it's about satisfying the soul. And you've mentioned your family. That's the key. That's the key.
Also, I think what you said about the importance, what is important, isn't it, right? And what Michael's saying too about important, and Steve to some degree, but is that I know that when I was 6 years clean, I got sort of taken into the countryside and I was strangled and I was left. And as I was getting strangled, when they were robbing me, these Peruvians, and I was running out of oxygen, my mind was saying, this is not meant to happen. You're not meant to die yet. This is not your time, right? But it was too late. It was already happened. It was enforced upon me. So the next thing, what happened is I started praying, right? I mean, this is what I didn't start praying, but this thing, I sensed this thing that was speaking to me that I hadn't connected with before, and it was basically, which I think is my higher power, God, and it said, stop fighting, you can't control, just kid on your dead, and I got this sense of peace, real peace. And as I let go and stopped fighting with these guys that were on top, and I drifted off and thing, which I went unconscious. Like there was this real sense of peace. And then when I woke up, I was in this ghetto in fucking somewhere just outside Cusco, and I was covered in mud, and I was lying. There was an old burnt out car across from me. And as I took the breath, when I woke up, I thought, thank God I'm alive. There was a gratitude about life that I had not, and because in that moment, the most important, obviously, it's not about the Rolex, whatever it is here, where, or it's irrelevant. All of that pales into insignificance because it's the gift of life. I'm losing the gift of life. And I've just been given the gift of life again, and I've got it back, and I'm like so grateful. Within 5 minutes, my head was saying, "Oh, they took 400 quid off you. They've got your passport. Oh, you've got to go to the..." So I had forgot. I'd went back into sleep again. I'd went back into the human condition.
That's the bit. What you're talking
back
about
into the story.
Is the bit.
Back into the story, the narrative. This is wrong. This is wrong. Oh God, I've got no shoes because they've taken my shoes. How am I going to get? There's dogs as well. So I've went in. I've lost the gratitude again within 5 minutes.
Okay, so the question I'd like to ask and everybody, right, is like, how do you keep that? So I know. So I think to myself, the problem I have of, let's just say 7% of people recover from strokes. And since I've had one, I've had 1 million stroke stories, right? Yeah. How much of that, right? Yeah, are we going to take? How much of the learning that I got from the experience that I had, that I'm lying there thinking this could be all over. It's not like something I've ever known. It's not like when I was learning to walk and I'm walking along and looking at people walking and thinking how marvelous walking is. Do you know what I mean? I've never ever seen that as being a cost benefit. I've always thought walking was, what the fuck's all that about? Do you know what I mean? It just takes too much time. If I could drive to one side of the road to the other, I would. Do you know what I mean? That's like, walking's been really fucking overrated. But walking's overrated unless you can't walk, right? Yeah, unless you can't walk. And so now I've sort of think to myself that, how do you keep the spirit of that, what you talk about?
Gratitude.
That gratitude.
Yeah.
How do you
proclaim the gratitude? I have to do it every morning. And now, because of mine's, have you finished? Sorry.
Yes.
Because of mine's been a duration, I can still flip back into, hold on. But the majority, it's about embracing, it's about discipline, and it's about teaching. So I do do a gratitude list and phone up Clive to sponsor. And, I've done that. Was it meaningful? No. So I don't want to go biblical again. But there's a guy in the Bible who says he had wealth beyond belief.
Solomon.
And he said none of it's important.
Yeah.
I've learned that nothing's important. And so when we get to that stage, are we allowed to have what we got and keep it, which is okay? People can live nice lives. But I think where I've practiced or I've been given maybe an opportunity, not out of my wishes, you know what I mean? I would have called this on like you wouldn't have called your stroke on. But every day I'm grateful that I wake up. Every day I'm grateful I can walk better today. Every day I'm grateful that I'm alive and that I got my family and I got my love there. So it becomes part of, because the madness that was going on with my toys, when you was telling a story a minute ago, I just go backwards. I used to have a nice car, and I'm going back a long time ago, and there was this girl who we sort of had a bit of a thing, and I'm driving down the King's Road, but I'm not in my nice car, right, and she's walking across the road, and I had to my embarrassment I had a lovely watch on. So I didn't want her to see me. It was by Chelsea Town Hall. So I put my arm out the window and waved to her. The embarrassment of it. I went, hello. You know, really, I ain't got my car, but I got my watch on. I mean, how pathetic.
Well, it's just low self-esteem.
But whatever it is, I'm just saying. It's low self-esteem. Look at me.
That was the remedy, though, wasn't it? The watch was the remedy
the remedy to attach to the feeling.
Car,
And I can still...
But it's basically I'm not enough. What you're saying is I'm not enough unless I've got this thing.
For sure, but I didn't understand my ignorance. But today... it's not important. I'm being kind to me. And instead of me giving people things, I'm giving them time.
Okay, so the interesting thing about that, right, is interesting thing about what happened there is that sometimes you need an incident, right? Yeah.
To wake you up.
To make you understand that that's what's gone on.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It's a bit like, it's easy, it's a bit like, it's easy for me to say now, right?
After having a stroke, it's not about the material. Because
I'm a reality.
It's easy for me not to say, right? It's easy for me to say that, I've now got an LPA, which is a living power of attorney. I've got a will, I've got this, I've got that. It's really, really, and so my mum's 84, right? Yeah. My mum's 84 and she's retained everything, right? Yeah. And so I sort of say to my mum when we were in the hospital and that, I said, I've realised that having any of this gear is rubbish. Do you know what I mean? It's what is the fucking point? Do you know what I mean? It's you can't do anything with it. You're 84. Changing sky drives you crazy. Do you know what I mean? Like you're marching about. Do you know what I mean? All this sort of stuff. You should just leave it alone. Go and live in I went and had a look at a home in. I went and had a look at home anyway. Outstanding. Never seen anything like it. Billiard tables, TVs, you know, they've got like a canteen, blah blah blah, and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I ain't told her, right? You know what I mean? But you know,
yeah,
I haven't told her in the last 4 or 5 weeks. But I watched her struggle. I watched her struggle to retain it all, to hold on to everything.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Where realistically, it's
attachment.
It's gone. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of gone. And what my illness has kind of taught me is that it's the fact that whatever my hopes and dreams are, whatever I thought was going to work or not work, or whatever I thought that if I did this, I'd get this and this would happen, right? Yeah. There might be other plans for me, right? And the other plans are that the people that are nearest and dearest, the people that I love and the people that, you know, mean the most to me, I kind of need to step aside. And what I've kind of realised as well is that every generation is smarter than the next. You know, just because of technology, the way they've been brought up and the rest of it. So, you know, your Gen Z, you know, and your millennials are better than the Gen X's and the baby boomers. They know, not saying that they're better, they just know more. Do you know what I mean? And for me to sort of like impart my, you know, it's a bit like,
I think it's all about love, Tosca.
What's that?
It's all about love.
Yeah, it is all about love, but it's also about acceptance.
Acceptance is the one.
Yeah. It's about acceptance. It's about accepting the fact that I'm gonna have to move on from this.
Aye. Well, we all were. It's not the doubt about it.
You know what I mean? I'm gonna have to move on from this. Nothing stays the same.
No.
And it's kind of, you know, it's difficult. I don't know about you guys, but you know, there's some sort of relief in it, but there's also a certain amount of difficulty in the fact that, you know, this has been it.
It's a law of impermanence, isn't it? Really, it's the Buddhist. You know, we grow up in the sort of Western world where it's all about getting more stuff. It's all about getting that. Especially now, even more so now, and with technology and social media and everything else. So everything here is about accumulating. Yeah. But the Buddhists would have it. What the idea of in Buddhism, they say success is that by the time we're 40, we're attached to less things. The Buddhists are like, why are we attached to all this stuff? Because it doesn't work. Why are we attached even to our ego? Because that's not real as well. So their whole thing is the law of impermanence. We will. I mean, look, the Buddha, the Caesars used to have a slave behind them saying all the time, memento mori, you too shall pass, you too will die, you're not God and you will die. And so the Caesar had to have this voice in his ear all the time. We're all going to die, isn't it? And
do you know what? I think it's okay to accumulate things if you accumulate them for the right reasons. If we accumulate them so I can go like that with my arm, it's ridiculous. But when you look at the child, you know,
but can I just challenge that? So what I would say is that if you're in a peer group, right? Yeah. And where the notions of that peer group and your friends and how you've grown up means that that's important, right? Yeah. Then that's what you're, you know, that's what you're going to do.
If I had a nice watch, it wouldn't be the same. I'm not worried about having a nice watch.
No, I'm just saying at that point,
it was important to my growth. My well, do you like me? Well, how about me watch? But today, I'm not saying it's wrong to have a nice car. But what I'm saying is, we definitely created somehow through our parents. Now, for me, it's God, right? And I'm not trying to promote here, but so a 3-year-old kid to a 6-year-old kid, the transformation is not anything love's there, but the body and the mind and the soul start to grow, and it grows. So it's different when we're 18, different when we're 25. Different whatever it is. And I think when we get to old age, is it old age? We've had I've had life-threatening illness. But I don't think it's about that. That makes, you know, I become aware, God, dear, I've had a lot of time on my own. But it's about embracing and accepting that I am 66.
Yeah.
And things change. You get more quieter. Thank God I did. You get more humbler. whether I can attribute that to the cancer as well, probably I can a lot.
You can.
I think it's
without a doubt, but for me, this is for me.
Yeah.
So, but it's elevated it, yeah, because it's made me stop. But I think we just have to come to terms that we do change as we get older. We get our hair, we lose it, our balls drop, all things change. And I think for me, it's about learning to love myself. Okay. So I can love other people and be kind. And that's bottom line for me. Okay.
All right. Well, look, it's been good. I'm going to try and wrap it up here. We'll wrap it up here. And
Steve, what he's saying before we finish, because I just realised Steve's.
Yeah, no, I'm listening. I mean, it's a big topic. It's worthy of more than 40 minutes, in my opinion. But maybe for another time. I think what I've really heard here and what I was trying to articulate was, as I've got older, the illness has developed a purpose for me, whereas it didn't have a meaning or a purpose. It was just like, oh, it's an illness, and it's like now actually it's allowed me to live more fully, because it's made me realise that actually life doesn't last forever. That there is an end date. I don't know when that's going to be. So actually, it's it's carpe diem. It's and I've noticed actually since my mum died, I'm taking more advantage of each day, and it's meaningless and low value stuff which I could focus on. That seems to have drifted away quite a lot, and I've been able to what's important to me has become clearer. And is getting clearer, if that makes sense. Cool. So that's just what I wanted to say. It was really great to hear everything that everybody said.
Okay, fantastic.
Thanks, Steve.
All right,
thank you.
We'll see you all next time.
Great.
All right.
Thank you very much. I love it.
Love it. Yes.